Throughout history, there has been one universal language that people of any culture can understand: the language of business. To most people, this language can be confusing, and that is why so many individuals and corporations rely on wise financial translators who speak the language of commerce with accurate, ethical results. These trusted business advisors are CPAs. As the profession grew, so too did the need for a professional society that could help provide these advisors with the tools and expertise they needed to serve their clients effectively. In Indiana, the foundation of that professional society began in 1915, when a group of Hoosier business leaders came together to form the Indiana Association of Certified Public Accountants, known today as the Indiana CPA Society.
I like people. And that first meeting, I was hooked. I wanted to be a part of it.
We're relevant, and I think we've been here 100 years, so I think we can sustain that for another 100 years.
To see this organization not just coast, not just stay constant, but to see it grow, to see it innovate, to see it be entrepreneurial is pretty incredible.
At a meeting at the Indiana State House in May 1915, Charles Freeman, an accountant from Indianapolis, joined with 4 other Central Indiana CPAs to form a society to help govern his profession and the greater business interest of the Hoosier State. Along with fellow CPAs Horatio Roney, Arthur Holt, Charles Cohen, and Washington Lowe, the group organized the Indiana Association of Certified Public Accountants. It was the first time that Indiana CPAs had mandated a series of rules and regulations for accounting professionals to help provide quality service to their clients.
The society was there to really provide networking, development, education, and just there as a support group.
When you're a young CPA and you're looking to the people above you and what they do, you look and see they're active in the profession. So that, personally, from my standpoint, I could see myself growing professionally. A lot of it was due to the society.
Frederick Willett, a successful CPA from South Bend, had a summer home in the northeast lake region of the state and hosted association meetings at his cottage. By 1932, the annual meetings had grown so popular that Indiana was chosen to host the American Institute of Accountants National Convention, held at the Claypool Hotel in downtown Indianapolis. Hoosier CPAs were considered some of the best and brightest in the nation. In October 1942, Indianapolis CPA George S. Olive Sr. was elected president of the National Association. In September 1948, the board hired, as its first executive secretary, Roy W. Steele, a former executive with the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce. Steele went to work immediately to create initiatives to boost membership and to develop educational seminars at several state colleges, such as Indiana University, Butler University, and the University of Notre Dame. It was at this time that the IACPA formed its first state chapters, beginning with the Northern Indiana chapter in 1939, followed shortly by chapters in Evansville and Fort Wayne. Evansville CPA John Berry lauded the organization of regional chapters as a way for small-town firms in outlying areas to become more involved with the association. Berry's attitude soon became a catchphrase for all state chapters: "We must never lose our crusading spirit." Over the next 3 decades, the association would establish 9 chapters throughout the state. In May 1956, word came of the sudden death of Roy Steele. The board went to work quickly, hiring one of the country's first female executive secretaries, Marianne Shingledecker, a business school graduate from Franklin College. Within weeks of her hiring, Shingledecker updated the association's facilities and opened a new headquarters for the organization at the Merchants Bank building in downtown Indianapolis. When Shingledecker retired unexpectedly in 1959, the board hired the executive that would lead the organization for the next 30 years, hiring Mishawaka native and Indiana University Business School graduate Jack Noble.
He knew all the members. He knew their quirks and their shortcomings and their desires and their goals, and so he was pretty much in tune with what was happening on a day-to-day basis.
He traveled all around the state. He did a lot of travel. At that time, there were chapters, and so he would visit all of those chapters. He would basically carried the whole thing.
If we had chapter meetings in whether it was Evansville, Fort Wayne, or wherever, he was there.
During Noble's first year with the association, he developed the annual state convention, a popular affair typically held at state resorts, such as French Lick.
The convention was really the highlight of the year, and we used to have 400 or 500 people at the convention, counting spouses.
While I was president, we really took the big jump, and for the first time we went out of state, and we went to the Bahamas. And that was quite an experience because we had to charter an airplane, and that was expensive, and would we get the number of people, et cetera, and I think we had over 300 that went down to the Bahamas.
Jack Noble also worked with Indiana's top accounting schools in order to develop stronger relationships with the state's top business educators and to help cultivate a pipeline of new talent into the profession and into the association.
I realized that there was a half-life on the experience that I brought when I joined the faculty, and so the Indiana CPA Society provided me with a way to extend that half-life, to continue to interact with practitioners, to understand issues that were coming up today that hadn't existed when I was still in the real world.
These connections with the educational community grew increasingly important throughout the years, especially in 1992. That year, the Society worked with Indiana educators to help usher in the Gage Report, which determined that college graduates would require 150 hours to earn an advanced degree in accounting from the state's top academic institutions.
There was a feeling that we needed that additional education because of the broad educational requirements or the knowledge that CPAs must possess.
The profession just had expanded so much, like many other professions that required a fifth year. To cram all of that in 4 years of education was getting more difficult all the time.
Working closely with the state legislature had been a key consideration of the Indiana CPA Society throughout the years.
The thing that I wanted to see, and which ended up happening, was for us to be more in a planning mode, where we got acquainted with the legislators, got acquainted with the process before the session ever started.
It was determined that we probably needed to form a PAC, a political action committee, and raise some money so that we could put our money where our mouth was.
The Indiana Association of Certified Public Accountants promoted many other business leaders in the state and in the profession. Among this group was former state and national association president Marshall Armstrong.
We viewed him as sort of on the same level as the President of the United States in terms of our profession. And it was just a proud thing for Indiana to have Marshall among us.
A talented musician who once considered touring with a jazz band prior to the war, Armstrong earned his CPA license during the 1940s before leading the local and national associations. He ultimately became the first head of the Financial Accounting Standards Board in 1972.
He had a significant impact on the profession over the years. Great guy. So I could pick up the phone and say, Marshall, I need something. And he just was the right kind of person.
The Indiana CPA Society always had a tendency to find the right kind of person. For 30 years, Jack Noble had built an impressive legacy with the Society. So when Noble announced his retirement in 1989, there was some concern whether the Society could find the next right person.
Somebody that's been in the same job for 30 years and took an organization from effectively nothing to a powerhouse, a lot of people don't want to follow that. But Gary did. Gary wanted to follow him. Gary knew how to build on that legacy.
Gary Bollinger started with the Society in 1984 as the Field Activities Director, traveling to each of the regional chapters and building membership throughout the state. In 1990, he took over for Jack Noble, becoming only the 4th executive director in the Society's history. One of the major developments that the Society faced during Bollinger's early years was the development of computer technology throughout the state and within the Society.
The older folks were a little intimidated by it, but some were really energized by it. The young people were all over it. I mean, they were just so eager for the computers.
Those were the times when The internet was really starting to affect commerce in a huge way.
Well, it was a very transformational time because we were moving from punch cards and mainframes to desktop computers and Lotus worksheets, and so it was really a time when things were changing.
We opened the computer lab during the year that I was president, so that was something that was fairly new back then. We were kind of on the cutting edge of that.
Through each new era and each new challenge, the Indiana CPA Society has been on the leading edge of social and economic change. That challenge continues to this day, with new initiatives that continue to be far-reaching and influential to a new generation of CPAs and to their clients and employers.
CPAs were going to have to focus on more consulting, helping add value to the relationships that we have with our clients, and we were going to need to have new and different skills.
There is a business model that makes sense to have diversity and inclusion within your workforce because you're dealing with global companies, you're dealing with persons of all backgrounds. So if you don't have that within your organization, you're kind of left behind.
Today, new programs such as the INCPAS 2025 initiative are helping to shape the way the society focuses on the needs of a growing membership and a business community that expands in more diverse ways. Through initiatives like the CPA Center of Excellence and groups like the Emerging Leaders Alliance, the Indiana CPA Society can continue to be an active participant in the way Hoosier CPAs serve their clients and employers effectively for years to come.
I believe it has the opportunity to revolutionize how we approach competency development. I think it has the potential to revolutionize how we connect as CPAs.
You can tell that the society is very forward-looking, and it's been, looking at it from our perspective, what do you see as opportunities of where the society can either, get more diverse or get more specialized, and just exploring all of the outlets that, we as millennials think is, going to be pertinent and really help us.
I get to equip the next generation of accountants. I get to help prepare them for a time I may never see to get to do things I may never get to do. That's pretty incredible.
The service aspect always intrigued me with CPAs. You just believe in service to your client, to your profession, to your company. So when you see a CPA, I always feel good.